Welcome to the That's Life podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hey friends, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of That's Life, a podcast where I sit down and talk about all things that are going on in life, how to overcome adversity, or try to anyway, and try to be able to be the best version of yourself. It can be difficult at times, but I believe in each one of you, and I believe that you believe in me. So welcome back, everybody. We are heading into the third month of 2025, and how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing overall? Are you feeling like you're successful, or do you feel like you are in a place where it's not going the way you want it to go, or it's upside down, or you're feeling defeated, or you're feeling victorious? Make sure that as we're talking about all this, we're taking inventory of all of it. Write down your feelings. Talk about it, right? My way of being able to do something that's going to take inventory of how I'm feeling and where I'm at and just everything in general is through this podcast. It's literally through me talking to you, and it's a way for me to be able to kind of document things. But if you don't have a podcast and you don't have a recording studio, or you don't have anything that you have the ability to be able to do that with, there's a couple ways you can do that. One of them is, I always talk about this all the time, and you guys all know this to be true. If you go to get the help that you need, especially in those times when you really need it. So if you're feeling down, you're feeling hopeless, or you're feeling those kind of feelings, therapy is a good thing, guys. It's not a bad thing. So booking a schedule or booking an appointment with a therapist can be therapeutic and helpful in every way whatsoever. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you can sit back and say to yourself, oh, I should be able to handle this. Like, I should be able to handle all the things that are being thrown at me right now. It's okay to go get help. It's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to go get help. So that's one way. One way you can document the things that are going on in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, is through therapy and conversations and dialogue and those kind of things, right? So that's one way. The second way, and many of you know this, that I believe wholeheartedly in, and I try to be able to push this narrative of being somebody that journals. When I'm journaling and I'm writing my thoughts down in the morning or in the evening, and I take all of the information that I might have learned through the day, or the difficult situation where I might have hit a bunch of roadblocks during the day or anything like that, the journaling helps me, because if I'm in a space where I can write down and document the feelings that I'm having at that moment in time, one, I can use that for later use. I can take all that information and be able to utilize it as I'm navigating and I'm moving things through, especially on those days where life just feels like it's throwing you every single card in the book. Every single thing that it can throw at you, it's throwing at you. And you need to be able to remember that this is a moment. This is a time, a little small little snapshot of time, this little snippet, right, of you in your life trying to be able to accomplish things and do the things that you want to do. But the bad things that may be happening can be overcome with the right mindset. Now, is it easy to do that? No, not at all. Am I just this Pollyanna, positive Patty kind of person that literally believes that everything's going to come out on the right side of everything? I'm not that way. I can't be that way. That's not real. That's not being a realist, right? I'm an optimist, but I'm a realist on the same token. I'm somebody that sits back and says, okay, here's what I'm faced with. This is where I'm at. What am I learning from this? And if it really does feel like I'm hitting rock bottom, it's okay to feel those feels. It's okay to scrape your knee and fall down a little bit and have to pick yourself back up, or ask somebody to lend a rope or something to be able to pull you out of the mud. So on top of documenting everything, on top of looking at things to be able to say to yourself, How am I feeling at this moment in time? Where am I at this moment in time? Also, there's a benefit to taking all that information that you're writing down and coming up with a plan of how to overcome that adversity. Now, a lot of times we just want things to be able to go away quickly, right? So when the S is hitting the fan and we got all kinds of stuff coming at us and we're literally sitting back going, man, I just can't do this right now. And we got all the stuff happening and we're going through the feels and we're feeling like the world is crumbling around us. You know, the sweat's going off my brow. I'm literally sitting down going, I don't know which way is up right now. When you document your feelings, you document how you're in that moment, whether positive or negative, and you're really kind of looking at that. The second part of this to be successful is to be able to give yourself a plan of how to overcome it or at least navigate through it. Because like I said before, it's okay to go through things. We don't want to. We want it to be over very quickly, right? Nobody wants to go through strife or tumultuous times or anything like that. Nobody wants that. And if you do, maybe you're self-deprecating. Maybe you're somebody that literally likes pain and suffering. I'm not sure. But average human beings and normal people, we don't like that. I don't want to go through all the tough times, even though my optimist side of me always says, what can I learn from the situation? What have I been through before that can help me now? Or what can I learn in the future about what's happening at this moment? A lot of us don't take it that way, right? We take it as being, we're just navigating life. We're bobbing and weaving. We're going through all the checks, all the ups and downs, all the things that we're going through. And we just kind of navigate through. We punch our ticket and keep moving on, right? And that's okay. But if you're not learning during those times when it gets difficult and life does throw you those curveballs, then what are you doing, right? Like, we need to learn how to be able to approach it later. We need to learn how to be able to approach it now and accept the fact that sometimes we're not going to always be successful, but if we're trying and we're working at it, then that's a success of all successes. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot real quick. I'm going to do a little story time for you all as we're listening to the podcast, because I jumped right into the meat and potatoes, didn't I? I jumped right into everything that we're talking about here, but that's okay, because I needed to get some stuff off my mind. I hadn't done a podcast in just a minute, and now I'm back and I'm doing it. I'm doing my side podcast that I told you guys about, my political one, and then I'm doing this one. And it feels good. It feels good to be able to just get my thoughts out there. So here's my story. My story time is, over the last couple of weeks, with everything that's going on in the world, you know, I, of course, have been feeling like, wow, this is crazy time. But on top of that, my wife, I'm at work, just about a week and a half ago, I think, a week ago. I'm at work, and I get a text from my wife, and she says to me, hey, water is dripping from the ceiling. And I say to myself, oh, man, what do you mean water's dripping from the ceiling? It's not raining. And she goes, nope, it's pouring through the ceiling. It's cold, and it's got the drywall that the roof was built with in our kitchen. Now, the house is about 60 years old, so it's a little bit older, but what happened is there was an ice dam that had built up on the bottom section from where the garage meets the large portion of the house. And the water got under the flashing and under the shingles and started to drip down into the drywall, into our pantry, and into our kitchen. Now, my wife's standing there as water's pouring into the kitchen. She pokes a little hole in the roof, and it just kind of comes pouring. And then we call all the insurances, we call our brokers, all these people. The cleanup crew comes over, and the guy cuts a hole in the ceiling, and water just dumps right into the floor, all over the place. And so for the last week, we've had people coming in to take out our flooring. We had wood flooring in there. We got a pantry. The insurance wouldn't cover the cost of the roof. It said, nope, we're not going to cover the cost of the roof because it's an ice dam. If there was damage that had happened with a storm, if something had fallen on the roof, we would be able to, take care of you in that direction. But in this situation, because ice dams are so common that happen out there, whether it's through the fault of the design or the engineering portion of the house that was built, they wouldn't cover it. So that's what I'm faced with first, right? I'm faced with, not only is there water pouring into my living room or into my kitchen, but now I have to have them come in and clean it all up. with me being faced with the fact that I've got this huge bill that I have to put together, which is not ideal. A lot of us are broke as a joke, right? And so I've got this flashing issue that I've got to get repaired. Otherwise, it's just going to keep on pouring water in. And so these guys cut out the top part of the drywall. We finally got the roofer over there. He fixed the situation, and the shingles don't match because it's old shingles that I had on the house before or whatever else. But he fixed the issue. And then a cleanup crew came in. Now, they cut out the drywall on the roof. They cut out the drywall in the wall. They pulled up all the flooring, some of the tile over on the side. They got fans going, dehumidifiers. It's super loud in the house, all these different things. You can't even concentrate. Our kitchen's gone. Literally have no dishwasher, no sink at the time, all these things. And the hits keep coming, right? The reason I'm telling you this is because I'm painting the picture that sometimes life sucks. Sometimes it's just thrown at you. And the optimist side of me always brings up the fact that, okay, well, you know what? We still have heat in the house. We still have our bedrooms upstairs. We still got bathroom. We get to take showers. The water heater's working good. The fridge is working fine. The stove is actually working fine. So we've got the ability to be able to continue to live and continue to do the things that we have to do, where we don't have to go into temporary housing or anything like that. So we're blessed in that manner, right? Again, hear what I'm doing here. I'm taking inventory of where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and how I'm overcoming adversity. Now, the overcoming adversity part is one of the hardest parts of anything that we're doing in life. I could have easily sat back and just said, you know what? This sucks. I hate everything about this. This is just so dumb. Why me? Why does this always happen to me? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why now, of all the things and all the times that we got going on, whether we're financially strapped, everything else, why does this have to happen right now? I could have gone down the whole list of items. You guys have all been there. I've been there. Where you just like, you want to throw your hands in the air. You just want to give up and say, you know what, this is just brutal. Why? Life sucks, right? So I jot that down. I journaled it. I sat down and I said, okay, how did I respond to today? How did I respond to the fact that my wife calls me and says, we have water pouring into our kitchen? What was my immediate response? I was, of course, angry and frustrated, but I wrote that down. And then I wrote down exactly what my next thoughts were. Like, how am I going to respond to my wife, who's already in panic mode, who's literally watching water pour into the kitchen? So she's in 10 times more of a stressful situation than me when I'm at work right now. And I'm calling her and I'm talking her off the ledge because I need to be calm for her. So by me being calm for her, I wrote this down. I took inventory of my feelings and where I was at with it. But in the time that I wanted to be there for her and make sure that she was okay and she felt okay and she felt like, you know, the world's not crumbling. It's not coming to an end. We're not dying. It's just water. It's damage. We have insurance. It can hopefully help cover a lot of the other stuff that are going on in the house or whatever. So I had these talking points that I said to her, and we were sitting there having these conversations. It really helped her out. And in the meantime, it helped me out because I was able to actually talk it through in real time to be able to understand that my life is not as bad as what I wanted or what I want to feel at that moment in time. And we can overcome this. One of the things that my wife and I always tell ourselves all the time, anytime we go through stuff, we'll get through it like we always do. We always say that. We'll get through it like we always do. Now, I also understand when you have one situation happen after another situation, after another situation, after another situation, and it goes and it goes and it goes over and over and over. It's hard to stay in that very positive space. It's hard to stay in the place where you want to be able to say to yourself, I can overcome this. Everything's great. We're going to be able to do what we have to do. And it's really difficult when you have 5, 6, 7 things that have happened to you in a row that you literally are just feeling like, when are the hits going to stop? And that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to park there for a while. Here's the key. If you park there for a while, make sure that you give yourself an out. Give yourself an out plan. In the feelings department, we're not even talking about actions. We're not even talking about a plan to be able to overcome whatever's being thrown, all that stuff. I'm talking about how you're feeling. Because if you park there and you're parked in that space of defeat, you're parked in that space of anger, frustration, sadness, all those things. Guess what happens when you park there for a long time and you do not plan on, nor do you want to come out of that space? That becomes your entire personality. Hey guys, one of the things that I get from a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that watch the show, that follow me on social media is, how can I help the podcast? Well, here's one of the ways that you can. I have a Patreon page. Now, you may not be familiar with what a Patreon page is, but what you can do is you can sign up to become a patron of the show. You could donate monthly to the show. Now, after a few months of donating monthly to the show, there's different tiers to be able to donate to. But you'll get some tchotchkes back. You'll get some merchandise back. You'll get something for actually donating to the show. But in the meantime, it helps to alleviate some of the cost that comes into running a podcast or doing different stuff. So if you're looking to support, I'm going to place the link of the Patreon page right into the bio. And I'll also tell you what it is. It's www.patreon.com/that's_life. And this way, you can support the podcast, you can give back, we can do all kinds of different stuff, and we can grow together. So I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past and in the future and right now. So thank you so much, and back to the show. Everything that you do from that point forward, if you're staying in that space and you're not trying to change the momentum or change the dynamic or change the scenery of what's happening at that moment in time, you legitimately will stay there. And when you stay there, everything else that might happen to you and comes at your way that might not be as bad or might be actually pretty good, you're going to look through in what they call a deficiency lens. You're not looking through things through like a dynamic lens, which is a lens of maybe some sunshine or some positivity or some ways to be able to overcome adversity or the feeling that I can do this and I got this, but more the deficiency lens of, oh, this sucks. Woe is me. Everything always happens to me. It's always in this space or whatever else. So if you stay there too long, it envelops your personality. It takes over who you are as a person. And so as you're sitting there and you're in this space, no matter what is handed your direction, no matter what is happening, even good, positive things, you're still going to look through in that deficiency lens. So what I would say is, if you're parked in a space, because I've been here, guys, I'm not, listen, I'm speaking more so because this is my experience. And I talk to you guys about it because I know you can relate to what I'm saying, but also, just know that you're not alone, and neither am I. And that feels good sometimes. It feels good to know that other people, sadly, have gone through the same thing that I'm going through or have experienced the pain and suffering that I might be experiencing at that moment in time. But the human side of me says, okay, I'm not alone with this. I can see that Joe Schmo over here has been through it, and you know what? He's had a conversation with me. We talked about it. Here's how he overcame that adversity. I talked to Sally over here. She let me know exactly what she did to overcome that adversity, and I took some notes, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll try something like that. And I'm open to change, and I'm open to trying to be able to do new things, because right now what's not working is the space that I'm living in right now. And if it's not working, why repeat the same thing that's not working over and over and over? Isn't that the actual definition of insanity? To repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And it's not going to happen. So when you are looking at the lens of what you're looking through, right? And I've talked about this on previous podcasts before, but it's so important in frame of mind. The state of mind that you're bringing to the table, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, here I am. I'm trying to be able to do what I need to do. If I'm looking through it in a lens of negativity, or I'm looking through a lens of this always fails for me, I'm looking through my past history, I've always dropped the ball here, I'm always a failure in this space, whether it's weight loss or making money or getting promotions or whatever it is, I'm just a failure. And I'm in this space where I'm just thinking that way all the time. That's not good. But I also don't want you to be fake. A lot of times we talk about fake it till you make it, right? I don't want you to be fake, because you have to feel those feelings. You have to experience those things to get to the other side of where you need to be, to appreciate all the things that you've been through and all the things that you currently have. You have to go through things while you're trying to achieve those to get to where you want to be. Now, that's not easy to hear because nobody wants to experience that. Nobody wants to have to go through anything. I just want to live my life. I just want to put one foot in front of the other, and I just want to continue to move forward and just be in a space that I can be successful, where my wife and I can just live our lives and do whatever without all the dramatic things that happen. The house breaking, legal issues, financial issues, all these other things that we've had in our lives. But I'll tell you, now that I look back on it, and I'm sitting here with you, and I'm sitting there writing down some of the things that have been going on in my life the last couple of years, which some of you have followed along on the podcast know that it's been tough. It's been an uphill climb, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't necessarily recorded as much as I'd like to, because when you are going through it, sometimes you just don't want to get on the microphone and talk about it because you feel like you're being a fraud or a fake when you're talking about having a positive way of looking at things, right? But here we are. I'm looking back right now, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. Look what I've been through. Look at what I've overcome. Look at all the things in the last 2 to 3 years with my son, with finances, with the house, with all the different things, the landscape, the political landscape, the world events, the current events, all the things that are going on. Look what I've been through. I should be proud of the amount of time and effort that I put in to overcome 3/4 of those adversities and get to where I am right now. I should be proud of the fact that my life that I've lived so far through 51 years on this earth, and I'm sitting here to this day, and I can look back on all of the experiences that I had in the military, all the experiences that I had as an area manager for a cell phone company, all these experiences that I had through technicians at slot machines at casinos, or working in restaurants and bars, meeting people along the way, overcoming adversity, things that were thrown at us that is just life-changing. When my wife got sick, we literally didn't even know if she was going to be around anymore. And we overcame that together to a healthier, cleaner lifestyle, to be better, to rise above and do the things that are necessary for us to be able to be there. But at the time you're going through it, sometimes you don't even know what you're going through. You're just doing it. You're just going through it. But the key to it is I can reflect on it now, and I can look back and I can say, hey, wait a minute. You know what? We were champs. Like, we have been through the ringer, which actually, in the long run, has brought my wife and I very much closer together, because we've been through stuff together, not just me solo, but together. And so we can reflect on that, especially when one of us is feeling down and one of us is feeling up. Not that I want to try to fix a situation, because I was coached on that a long, long time ago. In our marriage 25 years ago was, I don't want you fixing all the situations. You always are a fixer. I don't want you fixing it. Sometimes I just want to park there and I want to bitch and moan about it. And I just want to be able to vent and get it off my chest. And that's just all I want to do. You don't need to fix it, right? So I learned that in our relationship. But when I look back on things that we've been through in the past, when we make a comment and we say something like, we've been through it, we've overcome it before, we'll be all right. We're going to be okay. And we're speaking from that, not just from optimism and Pollyanna stuff. We're speaking from that because we've been through it before. We've been at the bottom of the barrel. We've been broke where we had to rely on ramen noodles and toast. We've been through it. And so at the end of the day, because of our experiences in the past, the way we can reflect with each other on all of the things that we've been through, we should start being proud of all the things that we've done. You should as well. If you're listening to this podcast right now, I want you to take a look back on your life, and I want you to think to yourself, what have I been through in my life? Have I just had a silver spoon in my mouth? I can guarantee you that 99.9% of you that are listening to this podcast right now are not silver spoon kind of people. You've been through some tough times, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, whether it's losing family members, whatever it is that you've been through. It's your own personal journey, and you've been through it. The key to it is to reflect on that and be proud of yourself for what you have been through. And the reason that you do that, the reason that I do that, is to make sure that I'm prepared for whatever comes at me next. It's almost, if you take a look at it, it's almost like putting a shield of armor on yourself. You got the plates, you got the shield, you got the sword, you got everything ready to go. And you're building this thick layer of armor outside of you. With each experience that you go through, every hit that you take, it gets a little bit thicker. Every slap that tries to break you down, it gets a little bit stronger. Every time that life throws whatever it wants to at you and you feel like it's just like the end of the road, that sword gets a little bit sharper. And so we can utilize the armor that we're building of ourselves and all around ourselves to move forward in a space where, listen, throw what you want at me. I've already been through the ringer. I've already been through the whole nine. And I've been successful, and I've overcome adversity, and I've overcome really difficult situations. And like I said, everybody's story is different, but your situation was just as bad as anybody else's situation of what you've been through. And the other part of it is if you really want to think about it, take a look at also, if you want to look at the whole dynamic of it, not only are we talking about the armor being built up from the experiences that we've had or the things that we've been through or the adversity that we've overcome, but how about all the positive things that you've been through as well? So whether you've been through marriages, where you've been through weddings, where you've been through the birth of a grandchild or a child or anything like that, whatever positive things that you have in your life, those are part of that armor as well. Because sometimes we forget about the fruits of our labor. Sometimes we forget to be able to understand that, oh, wait a minute, out of all the bad stuff that I've been through, all the stuff that's just negative and gross and disgusting and everything else, oh, wait a minute, I've actually received some pretty good things in my life for what I've done too. And here's some of the things that I do. Take inventory of those things as well. Because if you don't take inventory of those things, all you're going to be doing is thinking about how the negative things are overwhelming you. And you can't overcome it, you can't get past it, or whatever. So the dynamic of the whole entire conversation that I'm having with you right now is a few different parts, right? Life is difficult. We all know that. Things are thrown at you, some that you expect, some that you don't expect. Some things that they'll shock your world, they'll rock your world when you get the news of whatever's happening, and other things that are just kind of surface level things that might be thrown at you, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's still things that are thrown at you. And you still feel like, wow, I feel like it doesn't stop. It's just the hits keep coming. But if I had taken that approach when the whole entire kitchen was basically leaking to the floor in our house, and I panicked and I didn't overcome and understand, listen, we've been through it before. About maybe 7 years ago, or well, more than that now, 10 years ago, when we had our house up in Bangor, Maine, we were sitting there and I remember hearing the water flowing and I was like, what is happening? And I went down in the basement and the pipes had frozen. And so basically from the outside inside, and next thing you know, it was just basically water flowing everywhere in our basement, about 6 inches, 7 inches of water on the floor. I'm over there trying to put the pipes back together like a fool. I'm doing all this different stuff, which I also learned not to do, right? So in the heat of the moment, I just tried to be like Mr. Hero and Mr. He-Man and put one end of the copper pipe into the other end of the copper pipe as water was flowing. Dummy. But then I went over to the main valve and I turned it off and I said, okay, here's where we're at. So we had 6 inches of water on the floor. So when we were going through this and I'm asking my wife on the phone, tell me more about what's going on, take a couple pictures of it, let me see. And I saw what was happening. The experience that I had before and I was able to overcome and be able to move through that adversity helped me in this situation because I knew, okay, I've been through it before. This isn't as bad as what I've been through before, but it seems like it at the moment in time because we're in panic mode or whatever. But I was literally saying, okay, all right, it's not the end of the world. Here's where we're at. If it's coming down, I want to get some buckets down. I want to do whatever we have to do. Let's make sure that we're going to set ourselves up for success. I know it's scary and you got cold water flowing into the kitchen and it's going down our cabinets and all this other stuff. And I understand it, but we still got our lives. We still got 2 feet on the ground. We still got whatever it needs to be able to be done. I'm glad you were home to be able to at least try to mitigate the situation and put some buckets down and take care of that aspect of it. But, we'll move on. We'll do what we got to do. We'll be taken care of. And then I reminded her we have insurance and we can be able to move that forward too. So the insurance will be able to cover at least some of this to be able to help us financially, because I know that we really can't afford much to be able to do anything outside of that. But at the same token, all the things that I've been through in the past prepared me for the moment that I was going through at this time. Now, I wouldn't have really thought that way if I didn't take inventory of all the things I've been through in the past. If I didn't write those things down, if I didn't journal them, if I didn't podcast them, if I didn't, really take a look at the overall aspect of things that I've been through, I don't think I would have been able to stay calm in the moment and be able to do the things that I have to do. Most of your people that have been through a lot in their lives, look at all the first responders that we have that are out there. The really good ones have been through so much. They've seen so much. They've seen how to respond. They've seen how to be calm. They've seen how to diffuse the situation and all those things. They know what they're doing because of experience, because of practice, because they're good at what they do, because they are always greasing the wheels. They're always practicing this, and they reflect on what went well and what didn't go well when they do their after action reports and everything else. This is what we did that was spot on. These are some of the things we could have done better, and here's how we move forward. Treat your own life just like that. If a situation is bad and it's being thrown in your direction or your way, do your after action report. Sit down and jot it down. Take inventory. How did I respond? What did I do well? What didn't I do well? What could I have worked on? What could I use to the next time that it might happen? Or what can I use even just for regular daily stuff? Whatever it is, if you're evaluating how you respond and how you're at in the situation, you're only going to set yourself up for success moving forward. And this is the space that a lot of us don't play in because we are more reactionary than we are prepared. And if we're more prepared with armor, if we're more prepared with data, if we're more prepared with previous feelings and the inventory that we've taken in our lives before, we're going to be able to get through the things that are being thrown at us now and in the future. And at the end of the day, always know you've been through your toughest days already. Whatever comes your way next probably isn't even going to be as tough as that first time around. And you're already hardened enough to know that you can get through it, and you're a champion just like me, and we're going to be able to move this thing forward and be in a space after all the dust settles and everything is in the clear, or we're past some of the craziness that's happening and everything else. When you're past that little fork in the road or that moment or that hill that you're trying to be able to climb over and get to the other side, how sweet it's going to feel to know that you're a champion, that you're a warrior, and you came out on top. All right, guys, much love to you all. I really appreciated you listening to this. I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting on both of the podcasts. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for everything, and we'll see you next time around, okay? All right, guys, much love.
Thank you for listening to the That's Life podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating and any feedback on whatever platform you're using.